What is up, everybody? It is Brian Humphrey. I'm one of the partners here at Humphrey Bookkeeping LLC, alongside our fearless leader and enrolled agent, my mother, Jackie Humphrey. Thanks for joining me today. This is my first Facebook Live, hopefully out of many. I am planning on doing one of these weekly, probably every Thursday about this time, about 10 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. Don't really have a clever name for the sessions yet, but I am open to suggestions. Okay, so what are we doing here today? Actually, before I get started here, sorry, this is my first time doing this, trying to get a hold of all the controls here. Where's my... Probably should have done a practice run before I started this. Let's see, where did my screen share go? Oh, I got a screen share before. Okay. Alright, no screen sharing today. So I had a little presentation to go over with some slides and stuff to help everybody follow along. Looks like we're going without those today. I will get that hammered out for next week. Okay. So before we get started, just a little legal disclaimer that I kind of have to go through, okay? So the information provided in this video is for educational purposes only and should not be considered as professional accounting, tax, or financial advice. Consult with a qualified professional regarding your specific situation before making any final decisions. Humphrey Bookkeeping LLC, its partners and employees are not responsible for any actions taken based on this information. Okay, so what information? What am I even talking about? What are we doing here today? So Humphrey Bookkeeping, we are a family-owned bookkeeping firm. We offer all kinds of bookkeeping services, tax planning, preparation and filing, advisory services. We do all kinds of stuff, from like payroll to budget creation, all kinds of different stuff. We do work with all different types of clients, but we specialize in working with owners of plumbing businesses to make sure that you as an owner have not just a clear picture of your finances, but also you have a clear understanding and clear control of your finances, okay? So as far as what we're doing, the reason for these sessions is pretty straightforward. Basically, we know that being a successful plumber and being a successful business owner can sometimes be two very different things, okay? When it comes to the finance side of things, if you're not familiar with the terms and reports, you start talking to somebody and they start throwing around terms like unrealized equity or amortization or cash flow cycle. These can be kind of intimidating subjects to try and have a conversation about if you go into it kind of feeling, lacking confidence that you don't really know what it all means. So what we're doing here is these sessions are going to be designed to help you as a business owner build your knowledge and get that clear understanding that I was talking about. Because see, when you really understand not just the terms themselves, but also how everything in your business fits into those terms, how to apply these to your plumbing business specifically, it's going to build your confidence. The conversations are going to be a lot easier. And you'll get to a point that you'll be able to use your own financial information and reports to make better decisions, data-driven decisions about your business. So like I said, the goal here is really we're trying to help you take control of your finances instead of just reacting to your financial situation wherever you find yourself. And obviously, the whole point of increasing your knowledge and understanding and confidence is ultimately so we can increase profits. Okay, so that's everybody's after the bottom line. Knowledge really is power here. So we're just going to jump right in. We got a lot to cover today. Alright, so in this session, starting with the basics, I just kind of want to make sure that everyone that decides to watch these videos can get something useful out of it. Not just out of this session itself, but out of our future sessions as well. Okay, so we're going to start kind of small today, and then we're going to build on that foundation kind of every week moving forward. So today we're going to cover a few of the important financial terms that every business owner should know and understand. We're going to talk a little bit about what good bookkeeping is and why it should be important to you as a business owner. And then I'll give you a few examples of how quality bookkeeping is going to, save you some time and some money and give you that understanding that we were talking about. So as far as, we're going to start with just a few accounting definitions, okay? So I've got 5 words here that we're going to look at, like I said, to make sure everybody's on the same page. Because when it comes to these terms, I see stuff all the time on like Instagram and Facebook, even on like television and movies, where some of these words are maybe defined incorrectly, or maybe they're defined for an industry that is not accounting, which can make things even more confusing. So just to make sure we're going to clear all this up, make sure everybody's on the same page. These five terms are actually, these are also going to be the 5 main account types that you're going to use to track all of your business finances, okay? So first up, we've got assets, okay? Assets are essentially what your business owns, okay? So assets could be things like your work truck or your tools. If you own a warehouse or an office building, that would be an asset. And of course the cash in the bank, that's going to be an asset as well. Now what some business owners don't realize is that an asset doesn't necessarily have to be something that you can physically touch. It doesn't really have to be something tangible. An example of that would be if maybe you've paid for business insurance, and sometimes you get a deal if you pay a year at a time. So you pay for a whole year of insurance in advance. Now that prepaid insurance, the prepaid portion of that insurance, is now going to be considered an asset because it provides future value to your business, okay? That is one of the requirements for something to be considered an asset. Asset classes and requirements and things like that, that's something for another video. But for now, for today, an asset is something that your business owns, okay? That's what we're going to call it today. Next up after assets, liabilities. So liabilities are, these are things that your business owes to others instead of what it owns, okay? Examples of liabilities would be maybe if you've got a loan for a large piece of equipment or for a vehicle, that would be a liability. It can also be accounts payable. So that would usually, with accounts payable, that would be something like the amount that you owe to a supplier for materials that they've already given you. It could also be the payroll that you need to pay your team for hours that they've already worked. That would be considered a liability as well. Basically, if someone has given you something of value, time or money or product, and you have to either pay them back or provide a service later, then that's going to be a liability. Okay, you with me so far? It's clear as mud, right? It does get easier. Just stick with me. I'll make this all make sense, okay? Alright, so next up after liabilities is going to be revenue. Now revenue for most people is pretty straightforward. It's the money that you earn, and that's whether it's from selling a product like a smart faucet or providing a service like water heater maintenance. Money that your business earns is revenue. Now, in regard to revenue, it is important to note that revenue includes all of the money that you have earned, even if that money has not been collected yet. Okay, so let's say you complete a service and you give people, 15 days or 30 days to actually pay the bill for it. the bill that they owe you is still going to be considered in your revenue calculations because it's money that you're owed for a service that you've already provided. Now, just like with the first two, assets and liabilities, this is kind of a cookie cutter definition, okay? This is just to provide a little bit of clarity, make sure we're on the same page. We'll get more into revenue in a different video, okay? After revenue, we have expenses. Again, pretty straightforward on the surface. But this word actually is one that sometimes trips up a lot of business owners, okay? So if revenue is money earned, then expenses are costs incurred, okay? Costs incurred. So this includes everything from filling your work trucks with fuel to your insurance premiums, even things like paying your electric bill or the printer ink that you have to get for your printers. All of these things are expenses. Just like revenue, on the flip side, even if you have not paid these expenses yet, they are still listed as expenses in your books, okay, in your general ledger. Again, more to it. We're just doing basic definitions here. So the last definition, number 5, that we have here for today is equity. Now, this one doesn't have to be as tricky as some people try and make it. So we're going to take a look here. And actually, I've got an example. Just this morning, I mean, a couple hours ago this morning, when I was first getting on my computer, I saw some ad on Facebook as I was just doing some random scrolling, and I'm not even sure what the advertisement was for, but one of the first statements that this gentleman made was, equity is not an asset unless it's working for you. And that just, I mean, that is a really good way to confuse a lot of people. I assume he was talking about something about home equity and, you know, lines of credit and things like that. But, I mean, that's a great way to muddle the issue when it comes to equity. So for business, equity is pretty easy to figure out, okay? There's something known as the accounting equation, and it says that equity is assets minus liabilities, okay? So equity basically shows how much of your business you truly own. So that'll be what's left after you take everything that you own and subtract what you owe, okay? Everything that you own, we now know that everything you own is an asset, and then everything you owe is a liability. So assets minus liabilities equals equity. So an example for that, just to kind of make it a little bit easier, let's say, for example, you have $100,000 in cash in your business bank account, okay? Now, that's an asset. We know that cash in the bank is an asset. Now, you also have a $40,000 loan on your work truck, okay? Now, we know that a loan on a piece of equipment or a vehicle, we now know that that's a liability. So in this case, you would take your $100,000 in cash, you would subtract the $40,000 loan as a liability, $60,000 is your equity, okay? So that's the easiest way. That's equity basically in the smallest nutshell that I can think of, easiest way to explain it. Again, just like with everything else, there's a lot more to it, but we're not going to go into the nitty-gritty parts of equity right out of the gate here on the first video, okay? Alright, so assets, liabilities, revenue, expenses, and equity. Those are the 5 main account types that you are going to be using to track everything in your business. Everything in your business falls under one of these categories. It doesn't matter if it's a Phillips head screwdriver in your toolbox, or a set of new tires that you just put on your work van, or I mean, anything. Even if you got insurance costs, all of it goes into one of these categories. So now that we know what these basic terms mean, and what types of transactions to put under these things, now we can actually keep track of everything. That's where bookkeeping comes in, okay? So bookkeeping, the definition of bookkeeping basically is the proper tracking and recording of accounts and transactions in business. Okay? Um, so now that we know what bookkeeping is, we can ask the question, why is it important? Why should I even care, right? Um, well, the number one reason is you have a legal obligation as a business owner to keep record of all of your income and expenses, okay? And these records, depending on where you live, there are state laws and federal laws, and depending on the type of transaction that it is, you have to keep record of these things for anywhere from 2 years to 6 years, depending on the transaction type. Okay, so the number one reason for it being important is you have a legal obligation to be able to show your records, to show, it's called the burden of proof, if an authority entity requests some of this documentation. You just have to have it. Now, as far as why it's important for you and how it will help you as a business owner, proper bookkeeping. Let's say, for example, you've got a big job. You want to bid for let's say a new construction job, okay? Now, to do that job, you're going to need to know where every pipe and joint goes. You're going to need to know how plumbing flows in and how plumbing flows out, so you can get everything in the right place, right? You need the blueprints to be able to do your job correctly. Otherwise, you're just throwing stuff in there. You're guessing about how everything's going to work together. Well, bookkeeping, good bookkeeping, it's kind of like having the blueprint for your business's money. Okay, instead of a blueprint for a building, it's a blueprint for your finances. What does that mean for you? Well, just like a blueprint shows you everything flowing in and out of a building, this shows you in and out of your business. Shows you your money to the penny, every day, every week, every month. Okay. Because if you think about it, in any given week, you can have money coming in and out of your business. Maybe you've got some emergency calls, some service work, maintenance contracts where you got money coming in. But at the same time, you're buying materials for maybe that big job that you won. You might have to get some repairs done on your vehicle. You might have to hire another employee to handle your volume, which is going to increase your payroll. You need to know what's coming in and what's going out. Okay? So what quality bookkeeping does is it provides valuable insights. All right? Without good bookkeeping, you're basically flying blind. So what I mean is, and I see this all the time, you might think that a certain type of job is making you really, really good money, that it's extremely profitable, because when you see a payment come in for that job, you see a nice big number. Everybody likes to see those 5-figure payments come in, once the job's completed. But then, if you dig a little bit deeper, once you see, you start figuring out all the expenses, all the materials, all the fuel costs, all the labor, and the amount of time that it takes. Maybe that job isn't quite as profitable as you thought. On the other side of that coin, you might have like little service calls or service contracts or maintenance contracts that you might think are just kind of break-even jobs. You might even think that they're a big waste of time. But in actuality, your books show you that you've got extremely high profit margins on these tiny little jobs that really don't take that long. So there's one big way that bookkeeping can help you right there. Another situation where bookkeeping is important is at tax time. Okay. Now, when it comes to tax time, I use the term tax time kind of loosely, because as every successful business owner knows, tax time is really all year long. You know what I mean? Whether it's sales tax payments or payroll tax, estimated tax payments, or your actual income tax filing. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But the information and the reports that are produced from quality bookkeeping practices will make tax time just much, much easier for you. Okay, and it'll take a lot of headache out of that time of year, specifically when it comes to preparing your taxes. January through March or April or whatever the case may be. Okay, so the last one I got here is, I'm just going to touch on this briefly. It is the dreaded IRS audit. quality bookkeeping can really, really help you out in this situation. Now, a lot of business owners think that IRS audits are some far off kind of like fairy tale thing that is never going to happen to them. It doesn't happen to real people. You just see it on TV. But take my word for it. There really are random IRS audits across all industries every single year. Okay? Now, the good news is it doesn't have to be some big ordeal like you see on TV and movies. If your books are pristine, you got all your ducks in a row, the process can be much, much easier than what you've heard about. Basically, these auditors are going to be making requests from you, from your accounting department, from, if you work with a CPA or bookkeepers, they're going to want information from them. They're going to want reports. They might want individual receipts from, when you went to Home Depot on July 9th of 2024. They might want to look at that one receipt. You have to provide those things. So a cooperative business owner whose paperwork is in good order will usually have a much smoother experience than just a guy that's got a shoebox full of receipts and a bad attitude. Okay, that's just the reality of the situation. It's just the way things work. But it does save you when it comes to those situations, whether it's tax time or audit time or whatever the case may be. Having everything in order is going to save you time and money, just being prepared for all of these different situations, okay? And to keep in mind, these are just the most basic of benefits of having good quality bookkeeping. As you get more in depth into methods and practices and different things, it does enable you or your accountant to generate, you can make some really nifty reports and projections and things like that. That helps you make those well-informed, data-driven decisions that we're looking for. It really kind of helps you take control of not just your business as it stands now, but also the trajectory. Helps you achieve your goals and get kind of a clear plan of how to get to where you want to be from where you are. Again, that's a little bit more than what I wanted to go into today, so we're just gonna keep it simple. Actually, I think we're just going to call it good for today. That's all we're going to go into. I don't want to overload anybody with too much information. So yeah, as far as next week, we'll get into a little bit more detail. We're going to talk about, well, the tentative plan for next week is discussing how to set yourself up for bookkeeping success. We'll probably touch a little bit on bookkeeping software. Specifically, I want to talk next week about setting up your chart of accounts in your general ledger. If you don't know what those things are, don't worry. We'll go through it at the beginning of the video. Different businesses of different sizes and with different goals are going to have different needs. Okay? So next week we're going to talk about making sure that you have enough detail in your bookkeeping processes without kind of overloading with more than what you need. Still working on the conversation a little bit, but that's kind of where the plan is headed as it stands right now. Okay, so that's all I got for today. Just closing business here. If you haven't already, make sure you like the video. We're doing this on Facebook. I will be posting this to, I believe, YouTube a little bit later today. We'll get the links up for that. Make sure you subscribe or follow on whatever platform you're watching on, so that way you can be informed about when we're doing the next session and subsequent sessions after that. Like I said, the plan is for every Thursday morning at 10 a.m. Central Time, so that'll be, what is that, 11 Eastern, 9 Mountain, and 8 o'clock a.m. for our friends over on Pacific. Also, if you're curious, if you need some bookkeeping help, you need some advice, or you just want somebody to take a look at your books and maybe see where you can make some improvements depending on what your business goals are, feel free to visit our website, humphreybookkeeping.com. I'll put a link underneath the video here. You can, of course, check out our Facebook page. We've got some free stuff on the Facebook page, ebooks and PDFs and things like that you can sign up for. Just some free information that we're trying to help people out, make sure everybody is set for success. All right, well, that's all I got for today. Hopefully next week I'll get this slide thing figured out so it'll be easier for everybody to follow along. But hey, thanks a lot for hanging out with me today. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you right back here next week.